What's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 22 today for the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 2. If you guys did miss the opening round of Season 2, uploaded 2 days ago, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A very, very exciting opening race. We had a four-wide moment with both Red Bulls, Alonso, Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, but in the end, spoiler alert, it went a bit south, didn't it? You know, Formula 1 is a very cruel mistress, and, yeah, we kind of got absolutely sideswiped, side-tackled, punched in the gut, and we ended that race with a DNF, a gearbox failure on the car. It was going so well, you know, we had just ended stint 1, so we were getting into the meat of the race, and the gearbox went pop, and we had to park up on the left-hand side in Sector 1 and retire the car. You know, such is, you know, the way the random mechanical failures are on this game. You know, it is, you know, it's realistic. You know, it means that we are now finally getting that experience that a lot of the F1 drivers in real life sometimes have, where it's so frustrating. And trust me, no one was more frustrated than I was. But that's just the way the sport is, and especially when, you know, later down the line in the series, when we're in a championship fight and every point matters for, you know, the championship win, let's say, we're going to be thanking the game that finally there's that parity and balance of the AI getting these random failures, and finally we can get them as well, and it's not a case of we're just getting lucky time and time again when, you know, our closest rivals have failures and we just gain 3 points on them. Equally so now, you know, now they can gain some 3 points on us. So it's all going to come back to us, hopefully, and I'm sure there'll be races down the line in this season itself as well, in the midfield fight, where we'll be gaining points on our rivals like Ferrari and Red Bull potentially. And it's kind of crazy, to be fair. You know, there was some positives to think that we took the fight to Ferrari and Red Bull, at least in the initial part of the race that we had, which is very surprising. I thought we would, you know, obviously go toe-to-toe and snap at the heels of Ferrari, but Red Bull looked very weak last episode in the opening round. I don't know if there'll be a difference at Spain, a very different circuit, very downforce heavy, so maybe Red Bull will come back into things, but, you know, that was quite promising for a very tight, you know, top-end midfield fight, and then it looks like the Mercedes teams, you know, McLaren, Aston Martin, and the Works Mercedes, they're in a bit of a world of their own, and it was very surprising to see how close Aston was, and McLaren started off the season with a win. So, you know, that's a big statement for the season ahead. So already, I'm loving it. In Season 2, we're already getting a very different kind of F1 universe to what we have in real life, and we're already getting such a mad, you know, set of races and results, you know, in the back end of Season 1 into this one. But we have some admin then to go through as we go ahead towards the Spanish Grand Prix. Quite a massive gap in the calendar, so there's plenty of activities to kind of manage through in the timeline, but we also get an event coming up about, well, Sergio Perez again, and this is talking about in terms of him wanting to increase his intensity of his workouts. Now, if we decline it, nothing happens, accept it, and we get a boosted focus, but also he loses some awareness. So I don't want to lose that awareness. He's got very good focus anyway. We've really improved his focus through a couple of events that we had at, you know, Bahrain and pre-season, and then also the personnel upgrades we've made, you know, on the actual HQ has also helped that out. So we don't really need to risk it that much with, you know, minusing some awareness from him in that department event. So we just went with decline. We've also got to renew our sponsors, so we have gone again with PSD as a sponsor, because that's a very easy goal to achieve and get some decent cash, and we're then going to go with XER, so that's score 5 championship points. Doesn't seem like a lot, and, you know, we should probably be aiming for more than 5, but I've gone for that because it's a guaranteed goal we can get, and that's a guaranteed decent amount of money. It's pretty good on the weekly, and then the bonus is pretty high relative to the ones around it compared to what goal you have to achieve. So we've gone with those two, and now we're going to look ahead to some actual R&D spending, because we haven't actually done any, you know, since, you know, just going into the winter break, because everything was so expensive. But now we have nearly 3.6k R&D points, so a lot to spend, finally enough to spend on some of these major upgrades. Now, I know the discount wasn't major, but, you know, we can't wait around for the discount to be massive, so we're going to go ahead and purchase the rear and front major downforce upgrades that are next on the car. We had a 10% discount on the rear, no discount on the front, but like I said, we can't wait forever for discounts from the practice programs. We don't even get a choice of what booster discounts we get, so may as well buy them. And then also, you may have seen there just at the end, we also bought a crankshaft upgrade for the pure engine power as well. So really pushing on with adding some downforce to this car. You know, I think in a straight line we're pretty good, but the engine power, you can always get a little bit more. Give the Mercedes teams, McLaren, Aston, and Mercedes are very much ahead of ourselves, but we're quite close with Red Bull and AlphaTauri. power in terms of engine power, but I feel like if we push on a little bit more with the engine power, we could see some massive benefits at a few different circuits. But downforce is really the main place where I feel like we're losing some time right now, and then it's about pushing on with the little finer details like the chassis as well, that we'll look into for sure. But we have another event then. We've got a gym upgrade this time. This one's a no-brainer, minus 50k, boost the driver focus. Yeah, let's do that. So driver, a gym equipment upgrade or whatever it was on the blurb there to improve the focus for Sergio Perez. And then we get another event, such as the distance between in the calendar from Bahrain to Spain. There's enough time for these events to come up. So we get a research breakthrough. So if we accept this, we get a 50% discount on the tire blankets on the chassis side, or we can decline that actual, the breakthrough, and we can just get some R&D points. I've gone for the tire blankets because 50%, that's a massive discount, and we can afford to get that. So we're actually going to go ahead and probably buy the upgrade on the chassis side of things, because we can always do with some better tire wear. It will definitely open us up to, doing, one less stop at a few races where, it's difficult. Even the 2-stop races, remember, it will just help out the tire wear and the actual pace we have on those 2-stop races as well. So no-brainer there. Very, very cheap upgrade. And then in terms of actual cash and, HQ facility upgrades that we're going to look at doing, we've got, nearly $6.6 million in the bank. Looking around, I don't really feel like we need to upgrade any of the car side of things quite yet, because we're not at a bottleneck with the R&D. So instead, I actually thought, why don't we, match everything up and go for level 2 on the simulator on our personnel suite. So we're going to upgrade the simulators. That'll boost Sergio Perez's raw pace once that comes in. So, we didn't really get to see him in full action last episode because I retired from the race. We'll see, hopefully, how he does today. But, we can always do it a bit more pace. Perez is already a very quick driver. He was actually quicker on pace than Fernando Alonso when we compared the stats, but we can boost him even more once that personal upgrade comes in. But we move into practice. Going through the practice programs was a tricky one. You may notice there was actually quite a few failures I was getting, so it was frustrating me quite a bit, but in the end we did manage to get most of the boosters and all the R&D programs done, and so we're now just over 2k on the R&D, which sounds like a lot, but actually now, because the upgrades are so expensive, that's still probably not enough to buy, the next kind of major chassis upgrades I'm looking at for in terms of the weight reduction and whatnot. But obviously those will come through. We'll earn some more R&D through the race weekend and then into the next episode. So definitely compared to season 1, the upgrades will come a little bit slower, I feel, but when they do come in, they're going to be bigger upgrades. That's the only thing. So it's a bit of a different dynamic, I guess, in terms of the way you're going to be seeing those upgrades come through on the car. But we go into qualifying then Saturday, and it is all sunny skies here in Catalonia, and we go into our first flying lap, and I actually forgot completely what even happened last episode. Our gearbox went, remember? So our gearbox is 83% worn. So at this point I was panicking, like, oh, I've made a massive error because this gearbox is going to be too worn to do qualifying. Thankfully for me, you can see here, I checked the penalty warning. Obviously we're going to get a penalty for changing the gearbox, but we have to do this. But the replacement, it's only 6 minutes or 5.5 there. So I actually replaced my gearbox within the confines of Q1, and we've gone out now for the flying lap, and we can get going. So crisis averted, we can go out, qualify. Thankfully the gearbox didn't take too long. That is a very quick turnaround, I must say, for a gearbox replacement, I feel. But the team have smashed it. We can go out now and set a flyer on that same set of tyre we went out on the first little run on the kind of effective outlap and in-lap, so the scrub set, so we don't waste any tyres, and we get through into the second part of qualifying, close with Sergio Perez. Although, looking at these results, for whatever reason, the game is indicating that I've got x2 times 2, 27 positions of penalties, which I don't understand, because a gearbox penalty is usually 5 places. My only thinking here is that because I've gone into the session, Parc Ferme is now, in force. So because I broke Parc Ferme as well as changing the gearbox, it's a 5 place and then a grid drop to the back because of breaking Parc Ferme. So that's how I'm understanding that penalty. When I was doing it in the session, I didn't clock that at all. So in the end, it is crisis averted of a new gearbox being put in the car, but it's actually a disaster because I think now, no matter where we qualify, we might start from the back. I've gone on I've done a good lap in Q2. We make it through for the second time in a row into the top 10 shootout. But look at that. Fernando Alonso looking rapid in the Red Bull. Both Red Bulls looking quick. So what did I say? Maybe Bahrain was just a bad track for Red Bull. And here where it's more about downforce, we know how good Red Bull are at downforce. So they're looking very, very good. And Aston Martin, Mercedes are on the back foot a bit with Bottas down in P9 that was in Q2. But we make it through. Perez unfortunately just missed out in P11, but that will open him up for a alternative strategy maybe. But you can see obviously, like I said last episode, Checo, new team, he's still getting used to it. We'll give him a couple of races to get used to it, and hopefully in a couple of races time we'll see him get through into the top 10 shootout along with myself when I'm able to do that as well, when the car is there for me. But we're here now in the top 10 shootout. Bit of a kind of, I don't know, weird kind of feeling of being Q3 this time, because it won't matter too much because we know we now apparently have this 27 place grid drop. So, I don't know, we're just going to go out there and try and do the best job that we can, knowing the whole time that unfortunately, due to this blunder and error of me forgetting, I forgot that because our gearbox broke last race and DNF'd, that we'd actually have to replace it, because I looked at my engine components and they're all fine, but I forgot that wasn't the engine that went kaput, it was the gearbox last episode. So it's a big operational error on my part, but we just go out there, do the best job we can, and it's actually so annoying and frustrating that we actually end up somehow on the second row in P4, because this was a very weird session. If you look closely at the top times, 1:13.6, that's like 4/10 slower than the time Alonso did in Q2. So everyone went a lot slower. I went about the same speed as I did in Q2. So this is so annoying. If I didn't make that error of forgetting that, oh, hang on, we DNF because of a gearbox issue, need to change the gearbox. If I had done that just before we went into qualifying, because either way, we had to change the gearbox. But at least I could have changed it and got a 5-place penalty. So if I qualified here in P4, I would have been P9 for tomorrow's race. But because I changed the gearbox in qualifying, in Parc Ferme, I now have a massive grid drop to the back of the grid. So this, I'm not going to lie, is another gut punch. Yeah, they're really coming thick and fast, aren't they, right now in Season 2? But we know the car is quick. I don't know what happened with the times of the AI here and what Alonso is playing at and everyone else. I mean, Bottas is down in P9, the reigning world champion. But I feel like the car does have some relative pace. So let's just hope we can come back through, and we're just going to have to try and fight the maximum we can for any sort of points, hopefully, tomorrow. Let's go to the grid and make the most of it.
Welcome along then to what promises to be another fascinating Spanish Grand Prix, a race which saw Max Verstappen win on his first ever appearance with the Red Bull team in 2016. This after the dramatic coming together of Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg on the first lap. Will we see more moments for the scrapbook here today? The Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, a track that will certainly force the drivers to push themselves. It consists of a very impressive main straight going into turn 1. It's a straight that also offers a DRS zone, so it's likely to be a hot spot for overtakes. And I'm joined once again by Anthony Davidson to bring you the lowdown for today's race. Let me ask you about Alpine. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Vettel, Ricciardo, Lando Norris and Leclerc, Stroll, Bottas, Fernando Alonso and Sergio Perez, Gasly, Russell, Yuki Tsunoda and Ocon, Giovinazzi, Latifi, Nikita Mazepin and Guan Yu Zhou, Mick Schumacher, Ireland, Sainz, they've taken a grid penalty, and the owner driver. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So it looks like our friends at Ferrari have also had a similar maybe issue or something, because Carlos Sainz is alongside me on the last row of the grid then for this Spanish Grand Prix. It's still very upsetting to say that, and I'm still kicking myself at not, changing the gearbox before qualifying. But there's no use complaining about it now. It's happened. We just need to deal with the race now from last place on the grid. We are going to also, because we made it through into the top 10 shootout, we have to start on the soft compound tyre. So it's kind of a double-edged sword again of being quick enough to get through into the top 10 shootout. So not only we're at the back, we have to start on the soft compound. That's a little bit worn already from our laps in Q2, remember. So it's going to be an early pit stop. So it is very much on the back foot of being on the back foot. But again, we will persevere and just do the maximum we can do. Again, Perez, he actually has a good chance of scoring some points here. He was P11, but now due to my grid drop and Sainz's grid drop, he is now in the top 10. He's actually P10 and gets a free choice of tyre. So on a one stop from medium to hard, which is I think what we did last season, wasn't it? In the second episode ever of this series, he might have a very good chance of some good points and jumping some people. So again, not all is lost, and as a team manager, it still could be a very good race with Perez, and we're just going to do the best job we can individually to get ourselves up the order. So here we go then to 5 red lights. So the Spanish Grand Prix round number 2 is underway as the lights are out, and Schumacher gets a really slow one, and it's 3 wide ahead for Schumacher, Eilon and Joe, and it's basically a traffic jam. I don't know where to go, so I'm taking it very easy, maybe a little bit too easy, but I just don't know where to go really. I'm trying to find some space. Sainz is blocking me as well, so I just don't want to, get into any contact. We've got a car that's quick. We've got a car that qualified P4, so let's not do anything too hasty and make sure we get through in one piece. With simulation damage on this year's game, things are very sensitive. Don't want to lose any bit of our floor, the front wing or whatever, and we're making a slicing move there though. Speaking about cutting things fine, we're pretty much a pixel away from making contact with Mick Schumacher, and we're still making some contact with him because Schumacher is trying to go around the outside of us in the Haas car there, really trying to take on Goliath there, but we're maintaining the position up into P17, so all things considered, it's been a pretty okay lap one. We could have been a little bit more aggressive maybe, and we're going to make up for that a little bit now with the move on Mazepin in the Haas car. We're up into P16 then. Oh my god, what has happened to George Russell? Oh my god, George Russell with the save of the day. I thought he was going to spin that into the gravel. I think he hit the curb or something. George Russell once again qualifying well, I think it was, on Saturday, but again showing the opening lap in the race conditions just not up to speed. He needs to improve that for sure if he wants to turn into a top driver in this year's game, in this career mode series of ours. We go ahead and overtake Antonio Giovinazzi. We're now going to go for a move on our fellow Brit. Russell in the Alpine to replace Fernando Alonso. He's done well in qualifying, but on the race day he's not been too great. Can we go and overtake him round the outside of turn 3? Russell gives us a good scrap. This is turning into a lovely little battle as Russell dives back down the inside, and now he decides to do well in the race. When he's racing us, we're going wheel to wheel for the entirety of the first sector into the second, and look at the pace he's got mid-corner on the mediums, doing really well. He gives us such a surprisingly good fight. I was not ready and expecting Russell to give us such a fight, but that's the way it is on this year's game. The AI, sometimes they really do give you a really surprisingly good fight and scrap, ones that you're not ready for. Speaking about people impressing though, Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin, showing the Aston's got some genuine pace right now. Hamilton leads the way. Vettel though in second in the Aston Martin. Verstappen showing the Red Bull is improved in the hands of Verstappen at least. He's done so much better. He's shown the Red Bull, maybe it was Bahrain being a power circuit, maybe Red Bull at a downforce heavy circuit, chassis kind of circuit, they're a lot better. Verstappen in third, Alonso down in P10, but we know how that second Red Bull car can be, and Alonso's still getting to grips. And McLaren, they've lost some pace here around Spain. P4 and 5 only, not looking like they're challenging too much. So maybe McLaren have a lot more straight line speed and have a good drag efficient car, kind of like they had in F1 2020 in our career mode, remember. And maybe they just don't have enough downforce, and they're being kind of shown up a little bit here around Spain. Meanwhile, for our teammate, here he is, P8, Sergio Perez, riding on board with him with a very unique camera shot, but he is actually the highest man on this grid on the medium medium compounder tyre. So, like I said, he has a very good chance. I reckon he could maybe look to jump, right up till maybe even Ricciardo or Norris, So he could be right up there for some very, very high points if he plays his cards right. You've also got the reigning world champion, I might add, Valtteri Bottas behind him on the soft compounder tyre. I don't know what's happened to Bottas. I was, singing his praise, saying he was abnormally great and quick in Season 1, and he was trouncing Hamilton in the championship pretty much at times, getting way more wins than him. But, this season, I don't know if he's lost focus maybe on his AI stats, but he's just been woeful in the first round, and then this one, he's even worse, P9. It's very, very shocking considering Hamilton's up in P1. But right now then, in terms of our race lap before, you can see him all over the back of Esteban Ocon, but the dirty air is kicking in quite a fair bit. I'm struggling to really get past him or try to get near to his rear end even in some of these corners, having to play the patient game annoyingly and wait till the end of lap 4 onto 5, and it's going to have to be a straight line overtake, which is fair enough, but we'd rather have passed him a little bit earlier because we definitely have lost a little bit of time being stuck behind the Frenchman for the last lap or so. And now the same thing will happen with Yuki Tsunoda, unfortunately, the AlphaTauri, even though we've clearly got maybe a little bit more speed than these two cars now in Season 2. The dirty air just affects you. I mean, how much I'm having to lift off there just to kind of keep the car in the confines of the track limits at turn 3 behind Tsunoda's rear end. And again, in the same place, can be deja vu through the chicane, just waiting to deploy the ERS, get that good exit off the final corner, and then also opening the DRS. We get an update on the tyre wear there. The tyre is going off a little bit, and the pit window is open officially, and will be coming in on this lap and going with what the engineers are also reckoning, because these tyres are feeling a little bit second-hand. It's probably also a reason why I'm getting a bit of understeer also through turn 3, not just the dirty air, but the tyre also kicking in on the front end. So we're in now at the same time as our race leader Hamilton. Verstappen is in as well as I think that was Daniel Ricciardo as well, one of the McLarens, and Vettel too. So let's try and make this a good pit stop, and well, we're going to come out in a lot of clean air because we're pitting from, well, what was, P, was it 13, 14, down to pretty much, I think, last place this is, but it's going to be a fantastic pit stop. 1.8, although I must say, if you look closely there, I have a bone to pick. The auto release for the pit stop, it goes further than what the pit limiter line is at Spain. So in my team career mode, what happened in any other kind of mode online or whatever, but in my team career mode, you get nerfed as the player for being released from your pits because you can't do the pit limiter fast enough at Spain for some reason. It's a weird thing. I think they need to fix it because you definitely lose at least, maybe a tenth or two every time you exit the pit lane basically around Spain. But anyway, it is what it is. We go on now. A lot of clean air in last place, and it's about chasing after and using the traffic we're all going to hit, as us two stoppers are going to hit. It's going to be about using that traffic that you're seeing right there to our advantage. As much as the AI have improved year on year, they're always much better. It's still one thing, they're never going to be as good as a player at slicing through traffic. So this is our time to shine and trying to get the jump on a few cars that were ahead of us that are kind of in technically our kind of two-stop battle fight. Alonso there, Bottas as well. So let's try and see what we can do. I mean, these guys were P9 and P10, and so we've caught up to them. So effectively, we could be fighting. This is the fight now for points. Not at the moment, like directly, but you know what I mean. Later in the race, if we get these positions now, we don't need to get them later, and it's going to make our lives easier. And Alonso getting stuck behind Callum Ilott, Agent Ilott. He's left our team, but he's still helping us out there a little bit. I'll hopefully see you later in the paddock to give you a cheeky fiver, mate, as he holds up Alonso an absolute treat. And then here, he holds us up a little bit, but not as much as Alonso there. I mean, you've got to heal up Alonso for about half a lap. So great work there from Ilott to help us out. And we're up into P20 now, looking at Nicholas Latifi. Bottas making a move there on Guan Yu Zhou, that was in the Williams. And Guan Yu Zhou actually has held position. Bottas, I'm pretty sure, dived down the inside of that left-hander into Sector 3. And Guan Yu Zhou's actually managed to maintain the position in the Williams there. Bottas really not looking as sharp as he was was in Season 1 for whatever reason now in this one, as we now have a great run on Latifi there. You can see the difference in power, speed, acceleration, everything there from our car to the Alfa Romeo. Quite a difference one season can make, really, in this career mode. But we're now closing up to Valtteri Bottas, who's still behind the Williams. And you know what? I'm just going to overtake him. If he can't get past the Williams car, then we'll get past both of them if we can. And here we go to the inside, and the Williams will be placed a bit awkwardly, but we're going to go for it very fine. But no contact made with Bottas, and we squeeze him out with the elbow on the left. And now, can we do what he's been unable to do so far and overtake a Williams in less than half a lap? And we're going to do that straight away round the outside. Very close, but a lovely, lovely move up into P17. Yellow flags behind us, but end of the lap then on to lap number 11. This will be Carlos Sainz then, the man who is alongside us on the last row of the grid. He started on the mediums he's on now, so we've actually done a pit stop and caught him back up. So I'm pretty sure he's got a grid drop for some engine components, and I think his car is still a little bit broken, because I don't see why he's that slow. But we make a very ballsy move on Mazepin in the Williams car. We are inches away from disaster there, but we made it through on the left-hand side, and now we sweep through on the right and get Mick Schumacher as well, and that'll be us up into P14. So a very decent little period of this Grand Prix for us to cut through all this traffic. And now we've got a good amount of clean air, 2.7 to Ricciardo. Don't think we'll catch Ricciardo. We're not on the pace of McLaren, but we can catch the cars he is catching. And to that effect, on lap number 13, Giovinazzi is vulnerable. We've got DRS, he's not. And look at the closing speed here, the amount of time we've gained in a straight line. Giovinazzi goes very aggressive, though, on the defence, I must say. We have to dip a tyre into the grass on the right-hand side to get past him in a straight line, but we do it, and we're up the order, and we're still chasing after Ricciardo, using that clean air. Gasly and Perez, though, they've now pit, and they've come out ahead of us. Remember, Gasly and Perez, they started on mediums. They'll be going to the end on this set of hard tyres they're on, so they're ahead of us, and we've still got to make a pit stop. So I think Perez, either way, he'll be finishing ahead of us again in this race, no matter how well I do, which is frustrating, obviously, because I want to beat my teammate. But you got to remember, I am also the team boss, so he's doing a good job for us. We overtake Gasly, though, with ease in a straight line on lap number 16, and we're going to try and chase after Sergio Perez. Hopefully, as our new teammate, he doesn't put up too much of a fight. We're in very differing races and differing strategies, so hopefully Checo, he just lets me by and waves me through. We're not going to hinder his race here. DRS open, he does let us through on the right hand side. Thank you very much, Checo. You're doing a great job in this race and on the last. Go ahead and go get some good points for the team, but for us, we have to try and keep up with Ricciardo, knowing we have to make that second stop. And we're going to fall back behind Perez and Gasly and a lot of other people as well anyway. So it's frustrating. You know, we're up in P8 right now, but we know we have another pit stop. And speaking of that, here we are. We're in now, lap number 19, same lap as Ricciardo, covering him off. We didn't gain that much on Rick Bobby, maybe a little bit at the end of that stint, but that McLaren is just a bit quick for us. So as much as I'm pushing hard to try and keep up with Ricciardo, I'm basically just going to have to pick off everyone he overtakes. So I'm hoping we can both, as a duo, catch up to some cars, because right now we're going to come out, in P10, but because of the slow getaway on the pit lane exit, Ocon is past us. We've got, Alonso coming through on the left, and we just get ahead of him, but Tsunoda's through as well. So a lot of familiar names that we just raced but a moment ago earlier in the race are now back ahead of us because of that one less stop. All of these guys on hards. We're on mediums, fresh mediums, so we should have the pace. So let's look to overtake Ocon straight away, on the outlap here. Dive to the inside. Ocon was very cheeky. He tried to close the door. I had none of it, and we kept it through on the left-hand side. Kept the foot on the loud pedal on the right of the cockpit and got the move done. And now Tsunoda, we're pretty much pushing him through the final corner, such as the pace difference of mediums to hards, and we're through and into the points. P10. We've worked very hard for that. I don't know how much higher we'll get. Leclerc ahead might be susceptible, but I don't know how much higher. But we've worked hard to get into the point. That's already a job well done, I feel, in this race from last place on the grid. But here we are, lap 21, and we've got a very interesting development. Sebastian Vettel pits from the lead. He's on a 2-stop, remember. And the man who now leads the Grand Prix is Sergio Perez, our new teammate here. Gasly in second place in the AlphaTauri. Remember, last season, season 1, Gasly on this one stop managed to get P3. He got a podium in the second ever episode of this series. You can see Hamilton is there in P3, Verstappen P4, and Vettel in P5. So Verstappen's jumped Vettel in this scenario. I'm guessing Hamilton was in P1, Verstappen was P2, Vettel was P3, but these guys are all on a 2-stop. But Gasly and Perez, they're on that 1 stop, and those two were very high up the order. You know, Perez was P10 on the grid, Gasly P12 on the grid, so being that high up on the order and doing a 1 stop is massively paid out for them. So now the question is, we've got 11 laps to go. We know how quick that Merc is. We know how quick it is. We know how quick the Mercedes, we know how quick the Red Bull and the Aston could be from Bahrain. So it's the question of, can Perez and Gasly fend those guys off? We'll see. We'll check in later. Right now, though, we're looking at the overtake on Charles Leclerc. Ricciardo's already made the move on the lap before. We're going for it. The Ferrari looks a little bit slow, you know, in this opening part of the season. Sainz having a mare in this race, clearly with a car issue, I might add. But Leclerc, not that quick right now. And myself and Ricciardo dispatch of him. And Ricciardo is actually chasing after Stroll and his teammate Lando Norris. Lap 27. 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We're focusing on Norris because he's on the hards for whatever reason. I don't think he was doing a 1-stop, but now he's ended up on the hard tyres. So he's holding up Stroll. He's backing Stroll and Ricciardo into me, and also he's backing me into Leclerc. But meanwhile, also want to point out, look at the top left, Sergio Perez, he's still in first. Gasly is still in second. They've not caught the Hamilton and Verstappen and Vettel. I thought they were going to be right on the back of them by now, but they've not. Oh, and Ricciardo! Oh, Ricciardo with an engine failure! Right ahead of us. Sorry, I was talking about the leaders, but right now we need to discuss that. Ricciardo with an engine failure right ahead of us as he goes up in smokes. Last race's race winner at Bahrain is out of the second round, and we get a free position up into P8, but let's talk about this then. Lap 28. Now Hamilton's caught up. I was going to say, I was surprised these three haven't caught Gasly quicker. They've finally caught up to the Frenchman. We've got 5 laps to go. Perez is 2.8 ahead of Gasly, and Gasly's defending really well. Gasly's doing Perez a massive favour here and doing our team a favour, ironically. But now, here we are. Lap 29. Hamilton finally gets through on the inside. Gasly's going to defend as much as he can. He actually goes toe-to-toe. But Hamilton drifting through into turn 3, gets it. Now he's got clean air. 3.4 the gap. Can Hamilton do this? As Verstappen goes down the inside to make the move to get up into P3. But Gasly's going to come back at him there. Is there a little bit of bad blood still in the air in the Red Bull family as Gasly puts up a massive fight in the junior sister team against Verstappen? And he's actually doing it. He's still there, side by side. What a battle this is between Gasly and Verstappen. Verstappen finally gets through. Finally. But can Hamilton do it? It's like the Hungarian Grand Prix. The big question mark is, well, we know Hamilton will close up to Perez. We know that much. But it's one thing to close up to a car. It's another to pass them. But we're going to do just that as we go through with DRS on the right-hand side of Stroll. It's going to be a bit of a drag race. Norris awkwardly defending the inside there. And also Stroll. But Norris is locked up. And we're through. On the inside, it's the double overtake. We've forced Lando into an error. And we're up into now that was going to be P6, I think. We look at a replay though. This was kind of happening at the same time, I think, on the same lap. We've got Vettel overtaking Gasly. So Vettel up into P4, Gasly down to P5 from P2. But we've got 2 laps to go. The gap is still 2.6 from Hamilton to Perez. Can Perez do this? Can he actually do this? We move on to lap 32, on to the last lap of the Grand Prix. Look at this. Hamilton's caught up now. He's within 1 second. He'll have DRS. Could he do this? Could Checo do this in the second race ever for our team? Do we dare to dream? Do I dare to say, could our teammate Sergio Perez get this win? It's now 0.38 the gap to Hamilton. He's caught him up, but like the real-life Hungarian Grand Prix, does Hamilton have the ability and tools to overtake the car he's closed up? It's a different game to actually overtake, and Perez, we know he can do well at defending, but this is why we signed Checo. This is why we signed him. We know how good Sergio Perez is at getting the maximum out of a midfield car with budget constraints, getting unreal results that the car doesn't warrant sometimes, that the team doesn't warrant sometimes. And here he is on the last lap of the second round of the season, his second ever race in our team, and he's leading the way, and we're into the last sector. That was the last DRS zone, and Hamilton did make a move. He's not close enough. We ride on board with the Brit, and he's in second place, looking at the back, that fluoro green-yellow wing with Honda on it, and it's not budging. Sergio Perez through the final two corners into the last corner. He's gonna do it. Sergio Perez, he's gonna win the Spanish Grand Prix for our team. The first win ever for aarava Archer Racing on F1 2021 in my team career, but it comes from our AI teammate Sergio Checo Perez. Get in there, mate. Get it. What a win, man. What a win. What the hell did we just do? What did he just do? Amazing. And we come home from last place to 6th. What a recovery. What a recovery. But it doesn't matter. I don't care about our result. Sergio Perez, what has he done? I can't believe, I'm so happy. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. He's won. He's won.
And with that, we wrap up yet another incredible Grand Prix weekend. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I think we'll chalk this one up to a deft touch on the brake pedal. That's allowed them to challenge down the inside into the braking zones, and ultimately, if you do that often enough, you end up winning the race. It was great to watch as well though, wasn't it? Forget strategy, forget tyre management. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned scrap?
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
Absolutely biblical scenes. This is the definition. Oh my word, look at that. Our lovely overalls up there on the top step of the podium, but it's not the British flag, it's the Mexican flag for Perez. What a signing then. What a signing. I think this completely confirms what a great signing we've made as a teammate. What an effort. One stop of dreams from 10th place on the grid. And the thing is, he did a lot of work because Gasly was there. Gasly was there in the AlphaTauri. P11 he started, one stop, but he fell down to P5. Perez had the pace to maintain the track position. And not only that, once Hamilton caught up to him on the last lap, soaked up the pressure, I can't believe it. He's done such an amazing job. Such an amazing one. We recovered really well, though, from P6. Admittedly, I think Leclerc and Norris had issues. Norris clearly, after his mistake, just fell away. Leclerc, I think both Ferraris must have had a car issue because Leclerc was also a bit strangely slow to my mind, I think, in the way myself and Ricciardo got past him. And definitely Sainz had an issue, but still, what a great recovery. Some really great overtakes in that traffic when we were slicing through. But it doesn't matter. I don't care about my result, because it's all about the main man of the hour, the man alongside us, Sergio Perez. What a win. It means that we're now 3rd in the championship. Aston Martin and Mercedes are level on points, showing that Aston, that they may not have the top result yet. McLaren won last race. This race goes to us with Perez. Merc are yet to win this in this season, but Aston are consistent. 2 top 4 finishes, that is, for Sebastian Vettel, and Stroll scores well. Aston could be a good run for the money for the constructors against Merc and for McLaren as well. I have no minds about it. McLaren will come back. They had a bit of a blip in the speed right now for this one, but they'll definitely be back. But for us, I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have so much work to do. This was a bit of luck involved, but also some skill on the strategy and Perez being a G in the cockpit, but there's still so long to go. But you gotta celebrate a moment like this and soak it in. Even if we go back to fighting for just a few points next episode, both of us, we've got to soak this one in. A win! A win in Formula 1. Absolutely bonkers. Sergio Perez, I adore you. Absolutely amazing stuff. What a signing. What a signing. Guys, if you did enjoy this episode, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.